The night was cold. The city of Chicago, usually full of life, now felt like a shadow of itself. The wind howled through the darkened streets, carrying with it an unsettling quiet that seemed to hang in the air. Logan and Titan moved through the alleys, their footsteps the only sound in the otherwise still night. They'd been partners for years, moving as one, their bond stronger than words could express. Logan's eyes scanned the darkness, but Titan, his K9 companion, was the first to sense it. Titan's ears perked. His nose twitched. The dog, a seasoned veteran of the streets, knew something was wrong. His instincts were sharp, always a step ahead. Logan felt it too. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. They'd faced danger countless times, but tonight felt different. Titan suddenly froze, his body taut with tension. He growled low, a warning that made Logan's heart race. "Stay sharp," Logan muttered, his hand resting on the grip of his gun. The alleyways of Chicago were dangerous, but this felt like an ambush. He scanned the shadows, but there was no movement. Yet he knew that someone was watching them. The silence was broken by a single sound. Bang! The gunshot shattered the night, a deafening crack in the darkness. Logan felt the impact before he even registered it. The bullet tore through his chest, sending a shockwave of pain through his body. He staggered, his vision blurring, his breath catching in his throat. His knees buckled beneath him, and he hit the cold pavement hard, blood pooling around him. Titan immediately crouched low, his eyes trained on the area where the shot had come from, his body shaking with adrenaline. Logan's world swam in and out of focus. His hand reached for his gun, but his fingers were numb, unresponsive. His body refused to move, the pain too overwhelming. Through the fog of agony, Logan's vision locked onto Titan. The dog stood motionless beside him, his eyes filled with an unmistakable understanding. Titan knew. Logan was slipping away. Titan's instinct screamed at him to stay, to protect his partner, but he knew the truth. If he didn't act now, Logan wouldn't survive. Without another thought, Titan bolted into the night, his paws pounding against the pavement, each stride driven by desperation. The race against time. Titan ran faster than he ever had before, the city's lights blurring as he darted through alleyways, cutting through the streets like a ghost. He didn't care about the obstacles in his path. He couldn't afford to slow down. Logan needed help. The seconds were slipping away. He pushed harder, faster, until finally, his sharp eyes caught sight of something. A police cruiser parked near a corner, its lights flashing in the distance. A sliver of hope surged through Titan. Officer Briggs, a seasoned cop and one of the few people Titan trusted, was standing next to the car, unaware of the crisis unfolding just a few blocks away. Titan's muscles burned, but he didn't stop. He ran straight for Briggs, launching himself into the officer with a force that knocked him off balance. Titan. What the? Briggs barely had time to react before Titan grabbed his sleeve with his teeth and pulled him toward the alley. Titan's dark eyes locked onto Briggs. There was no time for words. The urgency in his gaze was enough. "Follow me," it seemed to say. "Now. There's no time to lose." Briggs, still in shock but understanding the gravity of the moment, grabbed his radio with shaking hands. "Officer down. We need backup, ASAP." Titan was already gone, speeding through the streets, his body a blur of motion. Briggs didn't hesitate. He followed, his heart racing. Titan's path was clear, but would they make it in time? The moment of truth. They arrived at the mouth of the alley. Briggs' stomach churned. There, lying in the dim light, was Logan. His body was limp, blood pooling beneath him. His face was pale, his breathing shallow. The sound of his labored breaths was the only thing that told Briggs that Logan was still alive. Titan stood over him, guarding him, never once taking his eyes off his partner. Briggs rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside Logan, his hands trembling as he checked for a pulse. "Logan, can you hear me?" Logan's eyelids fluttered, but it took him a moment to respond. His lips moved, barely audible. Did he make it? Briggs glanced at Titan, who stood still, his body quivering from exhaustion. Titan's eyes were locked on Logan, unwavering. The dog had never left his side. Briggs swallowed hard. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his voice. "Yeah, partner. He made it." But Logan's pulse was weak, faint. The ambulance was still minutes away, and the seconds felt like an eternity. Would it be enough? The longest night. Titan refused to leave Logan's side. He growled low when anyone tried to approach, his protective instincts kicking in. The paramedics had to fight to get close enough to work, Briggs holding Titan back with all his strength. Even at the hospital, Titan stayed alert. He refused to eat, to sleep. He waited, pacing the waiting room, eyes never leaving the door. Every minute that passed felt like a lifetime. His bond with Logan was stronger than anything. The thought of losing him was unbearable. Hours passed. The night dragged on, each second stretching longer than the last. Titan's every instinct told him to protect, to stay by Logan, but the helplessness gnawed at him. Finally, the door to the waiting room opened. A doctor stepped out, his face serious. Titan's heart pounded as he looked at the doctor, waiting for the news. He survived. Briggs exhaled, his body sagging with relief. Titan, however, didn't wait. He bolted down the hall, his paws clicking on the tile floor as he raced toward Logan's room. Logan was there, lying in the bed, pale but alive. His eyes opened slowly, focusing on the doorway. Titan's silhouette appeared in the threshold, and for the first time since that night, Logan's face softened. The dog ran to the bed and jumped up, placing his paws gently beside Logan. Titan's eyes were filled with love, pride, and relief. Logan lifted a trembling hand, resting it on Titan's head. "Thank you, partner." Titan let out a soft whimper, as if to say, "You're safe now." Logan smiled, weak but genuine. And in that moment, everything was right in the world. Despite the darkness of the night, despite the danger, Logan had made it. Thanks to his partner. His best friend. The battle wasn't over yet, but Logan was alive. And that was enough. For now.